If you would have asked me just 2 months ago for a laptop which is 14 inches and has more than a day's worth of battery life, then I would have advised you to go for either the 15-inch MacBook Air or the 14-inch MacBook Pro. But as we all know that we would be stuck with just 8GB RAM and unupgradable storage even after spending more than 1 lakh rupees. Enter the HP Omnibook X14. Powered by the Snapdragon X Elite chip, this is yet another ARM laptop that you can buy in India. And before I explain what's so special about this thing, here's something that you absolutely need to know. You see, the Qualcomm X Elite wins over the Apple M series in terms of competition because all the OEMs are using the same chip, but they are tuning it differently. So while we may see the chip perform at its maximum in an Asus laptop, it may perform differently in some other laptop. So in short, the choices are many and finally in your hands. Back to the review. Chalo, with that said, I can easily tell you that the Snapdragon chip in the HP Omnibook X14 is focused on efficiency. If you don't believe me, here are some battery benchmarks. Not only did the HP Omnibook X14 lasted more than 15 hours and 41 minutes in benchmarks, which is more than compared to other Snapdragon, Intel and AMD laptops, it lasted up to 16 hours under normal usage, which is the highest in any 14-inch thin and light I have ever tested. And as to how much power is the chip actually consuming is anyone's guess because HW Info does not work yet on this machine. But my guess is that it could be anywhere between 15 to 20 watts. Apart from that, in terms of Cinebench R23, the laptop scored 7545, which is quite low and in line with the Intel Core Ultra 5 U series CPU. And definitely it is slower than the Core Ultra 7 and the Snapdragon X Elite in the Asus VivoBook S15. But since Cinebench R23 isn't really optimized for ARM, so we take a look at the ARM 64 version of the Cinebench 2024. And in it, the Snapdragon chip scored 728 in multi-core and 100 in single-core score. Meaning if the app is optimized, then this HP Omnibook is close to a Core Ultra 7 powered laptop. Similarly, when we take a look at the Geekbench 6, we see that the Omnibook X14 fares far better than the Core Ultra 5 U series and in line with the VivoBook and the Core Ultra 7 laptops. So in conclusion, the performance of ARM chips is really all over the place in non-native apps. But those that are specifically optimized for ARM, we can see that these chips can do magic. Now, one thing which surprised me was the RAM read and write speed, which is significantly lower here compared to the VivoBook X15. However, memory latency in both cases remain the same. The SSD speed is also pretty slow, reining in at the entry point of the PCIe Gen 4 SSD standard. But most of the apps that I use on the daily, like Google Chrome, Docs, Microsoft Excel and other streaming apps like Amazon Prime and Hotstar are pretty well optimized and run without any issues. Now in terms of design, the HP Omnibook X14 looks minimalist for the most part. But you will see a bit of color theme going on, especially with these function keys and the power button over here. Along with that, HP has also released a brand new AI PC logo with this Omnibook X14, which looks very distinct over a theme of grey and light grey. Now, this keyboard feels very snappy. Like the key travel isn't super deep or anything, but the spring bounce or the feedback is very strong. Like the moment I press a button, it is super ready to jump back into its place. The result is a pretty fast typing speed. The touchpad on the other hand is nothing too special. It is there, it works, no issues or anything. In terms of dimensions, it is medium sized. Like here's my Strix G16 side by side for comparison, and the touchpad on both laptops is quite similar in size. The front camera is very awesome. First of all, it is a 1440p unit housing a 4.7 megapixel lens and supports 60 Hz flicker. But the real magic is being done by the Qualcomm ISP. So the result is that the video from this camera is very good and it is even better than the X Elite powered VivoBook I tested earlier. When it comes to the speakers, the vocals are fine, so your meetings and online calls will work very well. And also the mids are just decent. However, the bass is practically non-existent and at highs, there is some audio distortion, especially when there are a lot of metal instruments playing in the background. Here's a sample. In terms of ports, you get two USB 4 Type-C ports, a USB Type-A port and a 3.5mm audio jack. The port selection seems very minimal, like I can let go an SD card slot, but at least there should be an HDMI port over here. In terms of display, we are getting a 14-inch 2.2K 16:10 touchscreen IPS display. In terms of viewing angles, it is pretty decent, but it may feel a bit dim, especially if you're sitting under overhanging lights. But the viewing angles are fine, the colors don't distort when you shift angles. Also, I think that getting an OLED display in here will also improve the battery life, in addition to making this display even better. In terms of display finish, this is glossy under normal office settings, so you won't face any issues. But if you decide to take this thing outside, like in an outdoor cafe under the sun, then you could face some issues. And this is a touchscreen display as well, but remember that the hinge does not go all the way back to 180 degrees. Also, speaking of hinge, it is quite tight, so you'll have to use both hands to open the laptop's lid. So in conclusion, from what I can gather, the HP Omnibook X14 feels like a really great office/work laptop. Its high battery life, great keyboard and amazing front camera are sure to be useful in an office setting. However, its middle of the road performance, not so good speakers and minimal I/O prevent it from being a creativity/media machine. So that was it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Yetnesh Dubey and I will see you guys next time.